What is up, everybody? Welcome back to racingdudes.com. Welcome back to another one of our previews. Welcome to my favorite preview of the year. It is the Travers Stakes coming up at Saratoga. And I don't say that lightly. This is my favorite race and probably my favorite race of the year for sure this year, as I've been here all through August, right? And so this is kind of the main event of it all. That being said, buckle up, right? Very tough edition of the Travers. And I haven't lied to anybody all year long. Been pretty good with the 3-year-old crop until the big races started, and then just haven't been able to get them right. And I've been joking all week that could happen again, right? For sure about it. But field of 10 coming up over the Travers. We're going a mile and a quarter, grade 1 event. Going to be race 13 on the Saratoga card. Got this entries up for you now. And look, it's going to be a lot of fun, right? It's a very contentious field, no doubt about it. You've got everything you kind of would have wanted, other than maybe Commandment, who's going to stick or stay for the Pennsylvania Derby, skip this race, go to the Pennsylvania Derby. But the rest of the horses that we kind of thought would be here are here. All right, let's go through them one by one. And how some of these horses got here are a little bit interesting. And we're going to talk about the number one emerging market when we kick this thing off. And well, I mean, let's face it, a great maiden special weight won the Louisiana Derby. And you kind of thought, well, this is kind of Chad Brown's next big horse, and he's had some really good 3-year-olds here of late, but it went wrong, and it went wrong in a big way. Kentucky Derby, not great at all, but kind of predictable, a little bit too much too soon. Belmont Stakes, not good again. Last time out, went to an allowance facing older horses. Not that good again. Got second, beaten 3 lengths. He's 15-1 now. Flavian Pratt's been on him for the last 5 starts. Ricardo Santana will now take them out now. So, I was very kind of quick. The first thing I want to look at is like, man, Ricardo Santana, who I think is a great jockey, by the way, but how many times has he even been on a Chad Brown horse? Only 19 times in the last year, 365 days, that Santana's been on a horse. 16% winners, though, 32% on the board. So not bad numbers, but certainly not the number one pick for Chad Brown. We know that. We know it would be Flavian Pratt. Look, I think with this horse, what's happened, and I think Chad Brown's a great trainer. And I think, though, here, a little too much, a little too soon. Probably just need to hit the reset button with this horse. Just kind of felt after that Derby, maybe we need to kind of just hit the reset button. They haven't really done it. They're going to try the Travers here, going to push him here. He's not for me in this spot. I'm going to pass on the number one emerging market. The number 2 leading change is very interesting. This is a horse I've cashed on 2 straight races. Felt lucky last time out of the Indiana Derby. Won the race by a neck, and it was a good race, not a great race. That's how I would talk about leading change in this spot. But comes back here, and it's just like, man, I don't know. Is this a little bit too much too soon for him? Broke the maiden on June 7th. Thought he ran really well to win that race. And so much that I thought the Indiana Derby, honestly, I thought was kind of lock. And he did win, and that's great, but it wasn't overly impressive. Now, second time going 2 turns. We are stretching out to a mile and a quarter. I'm going to take a wait and see approach with him in this spot. I do think it's a little bit too much too soon. I think it's a nice horse. I just don't know if the Travers is really where we're going to see him as absolute best. I think it could be later on down the road. The number 3, Napoleon Solo. This is kind of the local buzz horse. Ever since I showed up here at Saratoga, I've been hearing it from the locals that Napoleon Solo is working extremely well, and you don't really have to hear that from the locals or from me. You can kind of just hit the form and look at his workouts and see, yeah, those last 2 have been pretty darn good. 5 furlongs and 58 and change on August 12th, and then 4 furlongs and 47 and change on August 20th. And August 20th was 1 out of 41. So a bullet workout there. Bullet workout back in August on August 12th as well, but just 1 out of 7. So that doesn't mean as much, but still really good works. Now I'm burying the lead though. And I think this is the biggest story of all. Paco Lopez, you're out. You got fired after a terrible Haskell ride. I'm just going to say it. Johnny Velasquez gets aboard. So very interesting there. Johnny Velasquez also been aboard this horse for his morning works. He is the local hype horse, right? And I think with Johnny getting aboard and veteran rider having another good season up here, all systems go. And this is a horse that I really liked him, like everybody else as a 2-year-old. Kind of gave up on him a little bit, but the Preakness and the Haskell both been pretty good. I think he's in with a big shot. And the only thing I kind of look at him, and man, he's 8-1. Will he actually be that? Because I do think he's got some steam up here at Saratoga. I think he's going to get bet, but I think he's in with a big shot. No doubt about it. interesting entry in the number 4, the Puma. And obviously the Puma early in his career, hard to find a lot of fault in him, right? He was very, very good. A Florida Derby that pretty much anybody you talk to, they kind of think he won it, but officially he was second, beating a nose in that race. But a great race in the Florida Derby. Of course, he won the Tampa Bay Derby. He beat Further Ado that day. Third in the Sam F. Davis, but a really horrible trip there. Got beat by Renegade. But unfortunately had some issues, and it was unfortunately had to miss the Kentucky Derby. Came back in the Haskell off of a long layoff. Kind of a disaster. Not only that it was a long layoff, but he stumbled out of the gate. He really did not get any kind of positioning that he usually gets, and it was just kind of a mess. It's also a sloppy track. I'm sure that played into it a little bit as well. Got fourth, beaten 4.5. He's going to move forward off of that race, and I think he's dangerous. The problem is, how much will he move forward, right? That's going to be the big question mark here. Look, the other big problem that's really starting to develop as we see these races over and over, man, that Florida Derby, we thought at the time it was really, really good. It just hasn't been. Commandment has ran okay. I mean, he ran a good second in the Belmont, a good second in the Jim Dandy. He hasn't won. Chief Wallaby, that's kind of a disaster, right? In terms of how good we thought he could be versus what actually happened. So that's kind of the thing. I do think he can get back to that Florida Derby type of race or type of form, if you will. But what does that really mean against this field? I'm not quite sure. I'm not totally against him. I'm probably not going to use him, though, because at the end of the day, I just think he still might be a small cut below the best horses in this crop. And then speaking of the best horses in this crop, one of them for sure is the number 5 Renegade. This horse coming off a nice win in the Jim Dandy. And we've seen this at the Travers year in and year out. The horses that ran in the Jim Dandy or trained up to the Travers, that's been the horses he wanted to use. The Haskell route has not been great, which is a worry for Napoleon Solo as well, by the way, that I didn't mention. The Haskell to the Travers, it's tough. It's tough to do that. With Renegade, the winner of the Jim Dandy, like I said, he looked very good. Kind of a paceless race on paper. He was way out of it, 10, 11 lengths out of it. I thought he was in big trouble, and he closed up and got the job done by a half length, was able to outrun Commandment late. It's interesting because, the two biggest races, I would say, on the dirt, Jim Dandy and the Whitney, both won by the same, style, which is interesting, right? That usually Saratoga is a speed / stalking type of track. That's kind of what you think of. Sovereignty came from way out of it. At one point, I thought he was kind of done. Then Renegade came from way out of it. And at one point, well, actually all points, I thought he was done until he was running in the stretch. So that is kind of wild. I think the negative on Renegade, not getting Irad Ortiz, obviously out with the ankle injury. We don't know when he's going to be back. Tyler Gaffleon gets the mount. He's never been on the horse. It's been Irad for every start but one, and that was Johnny V, the one time that Irad was not riding. And so we'll see. We'll see what happens. That could affect him a little bit. But look, he kind of had a paceless race and was able to win last time out. I do think there's pace in this spot. So he's coming into this really, really well. Really, as the only race that, other than the debut race, which I don't really count, right? He was going 6.5 furlongs that day. Don't really count. Don't really worry about that. The only race where I came away and thought Renegade was poor today was the Belmont Stakes. And Todd Pletcher kind of came out and said, look, we didn't really think we had him right where he needed to be. We thought maybe it worked short, but his last work leading up to the Belmont was really good. So we thought we'd take a shot, and we were wrong. Well, he didn't run very well, right? So I do think he's going to show up and run well. I think they've got him in a good spot. So we'll see if Renegade can show up and run his biggest race. I think he's a huge player in this race, no doubt about it. Let's go to number 6, Ocelli, everybody's favorite maiden, right? He finally had a horrible effort, but it was the sloppy track in the Haskell. So maybe throw that out. Look, if you want to play him underneath, that's fine. I'll be real quick, though. I just don't think this is a win candidate. And look, until he wins a race, I'm not going to change my mind on that one. Let's go to the number 7, Sea Strike. A lot of people are going to like this horse, and I could see why. I was here for the Curlin, obviously, and I was kind of watching Chief Wallaby in that race and watching him kind of track up to what I thought would take the lead and ultimately win. And then he starts to make his move, and I kind of turn my eyes towards Sea Strike, and it's like, whoa, he's 4 lengths ahead. Last time I saw him, he was just a length ahead or whatever. He was awesome in the Curlin. There's no doubt about it. First time going long, he was going from 6.5 furlongs to 1.1 miles, and it was super impressive. There's I can't say anything, bad about that race. It was one of the better performances of a 3-year-old going 2 turns that I've seen this year. So I think he's a horse you've got to use. What will he do against better competition? That's the big question mark. That's the question you got to ask yourself. And, the Curlin winner really, for the most part, has not been great at all in the Travers. We did have V Day that was able to win the Travers after winning the Curlin, but for the most part, not great. But this is a year where, you could jump up and definitely compete. Important to note, 2 races back in that 6.5 furlong allowance race, he was facing older horses. And that was a race that's just been a key race, right? A Sea Strike came out of it, obviously. Local Knowledge came out of it and won. But the horse actually won the race, came out of it and won as well. Interesting column after the Curlin, they were talking, and the owner kind of told Chad Brown, hey, let's try to stretch him out and face his own, age, as in 3-year-olds, versus facing older horses again. He didn't really want to do that, and it really worked out. Now, Chad Brown had questions about the stretch out to 1 1/8, and it worked out. Now we're going 1 1/4, so we'll see if he can do it again. But look, after that last race, he's certainly a player in this spot. Number 8, Baby Veno, coming off that Haskell win. Kind of talked earlier, the Haskell to Travers double. That's tough to do, really tough to do. And we'll see if he can do it. It's like I said, there's been some really nice horses, including, one that really sticks out is American Pharaoh. He could not do the Haskell Travers double. But anyway, look, this horse at Monmouth, it sticks out like a sore thumb, right? I mean, he seemed to really love that Monmouth surface. His other races came at Oaklawn, and I never really, other than one, I never really saw a race, especially going 2 turns, where it's like, I don't like him really. He always ran well, but the 2 races at Monmouth really took a big jump up. I don't love him here. It's also weird that Paco Lopez gets fired off Napoleon Solo, and I kind of think Paco cost Napoleon Solo the race. And now Paco's on Baby Veno, and he had been on him before. Vargas wins the Haskell, and he doesn't get the mount. I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird situation, right? That Lopez gets fired, but then gets on the horse that beat him in the Haskell. So a weird thing. I'm not playing Baby Veno. If you want to play him, I understand it. I want to see what he does outside of Monmouth in the spot. So ultimately, Baby Veno not going to make the ticket for me. Number 9, Golden Tempo. What can you say? I mean, he's made me look like an idiot 2 straight races, right? That Kentucky Derby didn't feel too bad that he beat me that day. It's just one of those things. I thought it set up really well for him, and everything went perfect, and he got the job done. So good on him. The Belmont is where I was really like, wow, maybe I'm just wrong on this horse, because he was very good in that race as well, winning by a length and a quarter. And look, they skipped the Jim Dandy, which that's okay. Horses have done that before. Archangelo comes to mind as a horse that skipped the Jim Dandy and went straight from Belmont to Travers and won. So that's not that big of a deal. He's doing really well. He's training really well. I think he'll show up and run his race. And it could just be, people, myself included, might just be making this too complicated. This horse won the Derby. He won the Belmont. Why can't he just show up and win the Travers? He certainly can. So, I think Golden Tempo is here with a big shot. And again, I think there's pace. So I think Renegade, Golden Tempo, I think they're going to have a fair shot at it in this spot for sure. Then finally, this horse really surprised me last time out. Number 10, Silent Tactic, a horse that I wouldn't say I wrote him off, but it's just like, yeah, he might just be average. He took advantage of some weaker fields there at Oaklawn, winning the Southwest, and then ran really well in the Rebel, got beat by a horse named Class President. And, it's like, yeah, I probably should have beat him in that spot, but he didn't. And then Arkansas Derby, it was a good second, but got beat 4 lengths. Time off, he got hurt. He had a foot issue. They tried to get him in the Derby. They tried to get him in the Preakness. He just couldn't make it. Shows up in the Jim Dandy last time out off a 126-day layoff. I thought ran a really good race. He was more forwardly placed than normal, and that's because the field was so short. And he ran well. He only got beat 2.5 by Renegade. I think at 10-1, he makes a ton of sense here. I kind of prefer him over the Puma, to be honest. I thought his return was really good. He's probably going to get a more normal situation this time. He's not going to be on the lead or close to the lead. He was only a length or a half length off most of the time on his last race. I think he'll be, sitting mid-pack, maybe even towards the back. So I think he's dangerous here. I've got interest in him here at 10-1. Would not be shocked if he pulls off the upset. All right, that's the field of 10. Let's do it. Let's pick a winner. I tell you, I've been back and forth between all four of the horses that I'm going to list, and I'm just going to recommend to play all four of these horses. Whether it be a pick 4 or a pick 5, I just kind of feel like these are the ones to use. So on top, I'm going to go number 5, Renegade. I've kind of felt all along Renegade is the best horse here. He's he did disappoint me greatly in the Belmont Stakes, but he came back and ran well in the Jim Dandy. And I think that Fletcher's got him right, and I think they're going to just get the best version of him here, and I'm going to just take the gamble that he is the best horse in this race. So I'm going to go number 5, Renegade on top. I'll go with the number 3, Napoleon Solo in second. Definitely a horse, like I said. I think you got to use him. I think he'll show up and run really well in the spot. It's working out well. I love the switch to Johnny V, and especially with a horse that's got a lot of speed. I think he'll get a nice trip. So number 3, Napoleon Solo in second. Number 9, Golden Tempo in third. Like I said, it could just be as easy as he's going to show up and win this thing. And then I'll go number 7, Sea Strike in fourth. So I'm going to go 5-3-9-7 in this year's running of the Travers. All right, guys, that'll do it for this preview. Hit that like button if you like the video. Hit subscribe if you really like it. Want to get alerted anytime we do videos like this. And most importantly, good luck if you're betting Saratoga on Saturday.